Hub spring training facility. We've been in Arizona all week long, spending the last 2 days with the team, and it's pretty clear this team is eager to make it back to the postseason. After an abrupt exit in the NLDS, the message in the clubhouse has been clear. This team, they want to accomplish more.
You look at this team on paper, obviously we're very capable. There's no question in my mind. Losing is motivating for sure. So, I mean, that was the best thing to come out of the postseason, I feel like.
You go into the playoffs and having it end so abruptly it's kind of just a sour taste in your mouth. And the guys we brought in and just talking with the guys, we're here to win, and I think that's the mindset coming into this camp, and I think it's something that's going to really drive us.
I think losing in the playoffs is got to be probably one of the worst things I've experienced on a baseball field. I think that was what kind of propelled the offseason to have a little bit of a sense of urgency and how I prepared. And, there's a lot of goals. There's a lot of huge expectations in this room, and I think that's right where we should be.
And to no one's surprise, the expectations are being set pretty high this season. Even some of the new faces in Hobie Milner, Hunter Harvey, everyone is aware of what is expected of them. Everyone is also aware of how tough it is to make it that far into the postseason, making the hunger to make it deep into October even that much stronger. I got the chance to catch up with Craig Counsell earlier today as he shares why he feels this year it's different. Well, Craig, third spring training for you here as the manager. I'm curious, what does a new year feel like for you personally?
There's always a lot of excitement around a new year. I mean, that's number one. It's the start of the baseball season is like very symbolic. I've always thought to kind of like summer coming in the Midwest and things like that. But I think for our team, we had a lot of fun at the end of the year, and then it ends in disappointment for every team but one. But that you want to build on all that fun, and it creates real motivation, I think, and real excitement around what we were able to accomplish. And you're close, right? And it's really motivating to just how we got to get a little bit better to take the next step. And then it's fun we're at the start of a journey together with like a new group, and that part's always fun, that we get to kind of become our own team with our own personality and figure out how to win baseball games.
Getting the chance to talk to a few of the guys in the clubhouse already, a lot of them have said the term unfinished business, and you get the sense that you've got a really hungry group here. What did getting a taste of the postseason baseball do for this group?
Yeah, look, it's hard to get where we got last year, and I think it's hard to get on teams like this, and I think it makes you really want to just like be in the present and kind of enjoy this and understand that everything you do every day leads to like what happens in the month of October, and it leads to like having a good season. So it does the work for itself almost, if that makes sense, and it is motivating, and does feel like you got the taste of something so sweet, and then you want more of it. You want that month of October to continue. You want those feelings from games at Wrigley Field in October to be, you want more of it, and you want that for the fans because it's such a great experience.
You talk about a really abrupt exit there in the NLDS. What were some of your conversations like with the players after that, and how did you see them turn that disappointment into motivation in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that there's a lot of fun that goes along with it too. It ends in disappointment, but the joy from it is also very real, and you want to feel that. And the work that you do is for those moments, and those are special moments, and that's why it feels like when you work hard, when you concentrate on details, when the coach is hammering you about little things, and getting little things right, like it's because of those times, and so you just want it again. It's simple as that.
You look at going into this season, right? You guys have added Alex Bregman. I'm curious, first off, where were you when you found out the official news? Because everyone in Chicago, right, they found out during the Bears and Packers game, and everyone was really excited.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I was a little out of the loop that day, and obviously it wasn't like a 24-hour conversation. It was been a long conversation with Alex and his representatives, but. I was watching the Packer-Bear game with some friends out at my home, and my son told me, actually, he read it coming across Twitter or whatever, or social media, and he gave me a good feel for it. So I was super excited. It was, you knew it was a possibility, but I actually didn't think it would done that day, but I was hopeful and knew it was a great possibility.
What does adding a player like Alex Bregman do for this team and for this clubhouse? Someone who's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ. He brings in a ton of postseason experience too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's fun is that we have a group that like is very, I don't know how to explain it, but they're like very baseball-y. So like the little things are very important to them, and I think that's like Alex's sweet spot. I mean, he's very much, and we've heard this even from some of the players that have played with him in the past, he's a difference maker in terms of how he helps players. And playing at sometimes can become like a very like individual solo thing. Is like take care of my job, and do your job. But Alex has a really great way of being able to play really well and do his job and then help others become better baseball players and give others confidence and help players kind of take the next level. And I think that's what he'll bring. And some of that is through his postseason experience. The postseason, you find out it's a higher level of baseball, and it really makes you understand how you can be better and what it takes to win in those games. And if you can sprinkle that in throughout the regular season, all the more better.
How do you personally stay present throughout the long season and even at the beginning of a season like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think baseball throws so many results at you. It's a game with there's 162 games. I mean, think about it like football. It's like 17 or 18 games,
right.
And it's just so that's so different. So you learn not to kind of ride the roller
pretty even
coaster.
keel.
Yeah, and you have to be a little more even keel. Otherwise, you would just kind of ruin yourself, and you'd wear yourself out. But it doesn't mean the losses don't hurt. They just got to sting for a little less time, and then you got to move on.
Thanks, Craig, for the time. Good luck.
Thank you.
And on paper, the Cubs look like serious World Series contenders. ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers joined me earlier today to share his observations from day 2 of spring training. Take a listen. All right, day 2 is spring training here for the Cubs, and we are joined now by ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers. Jesse, I mean, talking to some of the guys in the clubhouse, it really feels like the word they've been using is unfinished business. And you look at that heartbreaking loss in the NLDS there to the Brewers. I mean, I imagine going into the offseason, they're extremely motivated. Day 2 here, what have you observed so far with this team?
Well, let me pick up that vibe, that thread you just mentioned here, because I was here a decade ago when in 2015 the Cubs made it to the playoffs, eventually lost in the NLCS, and then came back and won the World Series in 16. And I distinctly remember Chris Bryant right here in the building in the clubhouse talking about early in 16 picking up where they left off in 15. And that might be the vibe we're feeling here. Now, there's a whole new pitching staff, bullpen-wise, so some things have to be figured out, but there is that kind of a vibe of picking up where they left off last year, and that's a great thing because you want last year to be the foundation and you want the ceiling to be the World Series, of course. So that's the feeling I get. I don't know if it's exactly the same as 15 to 16, but I mean, it kind of works 25 to 26, right? A decade later, we'll see how this all turns out. But first things first, we got to get these pitchers and catchers on the same page because, like I said, it's a brand new bullpen along with Edward Cabrera and the starting staff.
Yeah, let's talk about Edward Cabrera there because this starting rotation last season saw a lot of injuries, but obviously adding someone like him, I talked to Jed Hoyer yesterday. He said he's someone that his pitching staff, they've been enamored by, right? And they've been interested in him too the last few seasons. What do you think adding an arm like him does for this rotation?
Well, it's dynamic, and at its best, it could be the best in the group, to be honest. But he's not quite reached his peak yet, and I think that's what excites the Cubs. Look, the Marlins, they can develop pitchers. So if the Cubs take a somewhat finished product and finish him off, that could be something special. So live arm, nasty stuff, got to keep him healthy, of course. Get the best out of him. I'm not saying he needed to change the scenery, but sometimes new eyes, new voices can help a guy reach his potential. It's happened for the Cubs. It's happened when guys leave the Cubs. It's part of the game. So let's see what he can do. What's Edward Cabrera's ceiling? I think everybody around here wants to know that.
We've heard so far from Craig Counsell yesterday, Carter, Jed Hoyer as well. Were you surprised though when Craig gave you the scoop there about Daniel Palencia being their closer?
I kind of was. I mean, I was. This guy that lost that job late last year wasn't sent to the bench or anything. He pitched important innings in the playoffs. They just were not in the ninth inning. So to come back after a 5 ERA in the second half and on day one, Counsell say, yes, he's my closer, I thought that was interesting. Could be he's the closer right now. That could change. It could be just a confidence boost for him. It could be that he truly believes it and he's going to do it. And but it is day one, and normally Craig isn't that. Most managers aren't that committed to someone in that role that is not an established 5 or 10 year veteran. So I thought that was interesting, but I think it was calculated. I don't think it just came out. I think he I don't know if he planned to say it unless he was asked, but he went for it, and I kind of like that idea. There's no one else that's an obvious candidate. He's got to get to know all these new arms. Why not give Palencia a first shot?
Today is the second day here for pitchers and catchers, although we do have some of the position players here. They are here. They're hungry as well. Alex Bregman, I know he went home sick earlier today, but what have been some of your conversations with the players in terms of what having a guy like him here in the clubhouse does?
Yeah, I've known Alex a long time, and I've seen him be that glue guy on other teams. Now, let's remember, Tina, this team won 92 games last year without Alex Bregman. They got to the second round of the playoffs, Game 5 without Alex Bregman. So, I was joking with someone when he went home sick. What are the Cubs going to do today? They don't have Alex Bregman because he is getting a lot of attention, but understandably so. He is a glue guy, meaning not only does he bring together like the fellow infielders, that's obvious, but it's like crossing lines with nationalities, and pitchers and infielders and outfielders, and like that's something Justin Turner did last year, and he's moved on. So I think that will fall on Bregman. I mean, I think we use the word glue guys. Nico Hoerner's a glue guy in his own way, Dansby in his own way, but Bregman kind of is sort of the peak version of a glue guy, and I think that's what we'll see over time here.
What are you hearing in terms of around the league and how they're viewing the Cubs? Because obviously you're in conversations with a lot of people here around the MLB, but specifically, how are they viewing this team? Because this is a veteran group, right, that got a taste of a postseason run last year, and it's pretty clear, even hearing from Ben Brown just moments ago, they want to get back there. They want to make it back to the postseason and go way deeper.
It's interesting you asked that because late in the offseason, I did get a text from an executive. I guess it was after they signed Bregman, and he said, man, it's too bad the Cubs aren't in the American League because the American League's a little bit softer these days, mostly because the Dodgers are in the NL, but the high-priced Mets are still there. Obviously, the Blue Jays are good. So I guess I would say they're in a stacked league, and Milwaukee's still around in the division, but there's no reason the Cubs can't win the division, and then you take your chances after that. But I think they'd be favorites in the American League, not so much with the Dodgers around in the NL.
You look at a player like Pete Armstrong. I mean, last season, really great first half, and then after the All-Star break, saw him kind of drop a little bit. I feel like for him going into this year, really aiming to be consistent is the main thing. But what kind of step forward do you want to see him take?
Maturity at the plate. I think they're already working with him on just staying a little bit more compact. When you start to struggle a little bit, you can start to get out of yourself even more. And there was a lot of lunging going on and longer strides, and pitchers will take advantage of that. So they want to get him back to being compact and quicker. I mean, the way these guys can throw the ball on the mound, you can't get out of your mechanics. You have to stay very tight and very small as much as you can, and then explode when you get that pitch. So I think just maturing a little bit. Some people will say, is he still going to throw his bat? I don't view. I want to see him maturing in the batter's box. If he throws his bat and that's just who he is, but he hits 30 home runs, what do I care, right? So I think it's more, to me, when I say maturing, it's just as a hitter, he's kind of a emotional player. I don't have a problem with that.
Do you feel, though, that there's maybe more stability, though, on this roster, despite there being some really new faces here in the bullpen, though, compared to seasons prior?
Well, let's start with the fact that they added Bregman and did not subtract any of the other infielders like Matt Shaw, right? So now Matt Shaw is going to get run in the outfield, but he's also going to get plenty of time at third, second. Hoerner's going to move over to short. Maybe Shaw gets some time at short. This will be one of the deeper teams we've seen since really the championship team, because Ben Zobrist and Javi Baez were sort of those guys that moved around, and they were regular. They could have been starters on other teams. So that's Matt Shaw now. So that's why I like this team better than last year. That one extra player now that they've added Bregman and didn't subtract from that other core.
I know you're going to be out here at spring training for a while. What are some storylines that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?
Well, I just mentioned him, Matt Shaw, how he takes to the outfield and how he incorporates his offensive game to moving around the diamond, because that can impact him, right? If he's so overwhelmed with the outfield and takes his fielding to the plate or his plate out to the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see how he handles it all. I have no doubt that he will, but I want to see it happen, okay? So that's number one. Number two is all these new arms. How do they fit in? I want to learn Phil Maton and Hunter Harvey and, Hobie Milner. Not household names yet, but come the 8th inning of game 2, everyone's going to be like, whoa, who's our guy out there, right? So learning that bullpen, learning what makes Edward Cabrera tick a little bit, watching Matt Shaw in the outfield, and just seeing Alex Bregman up close every day are some of the things I'm watching.
Jesse Rogers, as always, thank you so much for your time. We're going to be enjoying this Arizona sunshine, huh?
I need it. Thank you, Tina.
And to catch more of our spring training coverage, head on over to fox32chicago.com. It's everywhere on our social and digital platforms. Stay with us here on CST Daily, because coming up next, Cassie Carlson goes one-on-one with former Bear and Super Bowl champ Dan Hampton. Stay with us.
The really cool part about this anniversary is, for the first time in my lifetime since we played in the Super Bowl, not only I, but a lot of other people believe we have a team that is on a trajectory to possibly go and play and win a Super Bowl again. So it only increases the excitement.
You just mentioned something about how we feel like now the city of Chicago, the Bears, like they are close to doing what you guys were able to do 40 years ago and no other Bears team has done. When you watch this season, what similarities did you see from the makeup of the team and maybe even Ben Johnson that leads you to believe, all right, we're only a few pieces away from getting to the final Sunday?
Well, and we saw, and you can make a case. They could have beat the Rams very easily, and the Rams could have beat Seattle. So you can go woulda, coulda, shoulda, real easy. All that being said, they've got to get better in a couple of areas. Everybody knows what it is. Got to get better on defense, pass rush, and we've got to be better on offense and all facets. But they came so far, so fast this year. Remember, when the season started, we were a bottom 5 franchise. When the season ended, I believe we were a top 5 franchise. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Ben Johnson knew when he came here, I have a game plan and a mission, and he stayed on it. And our quarterback has improved. The offensive line came together. So many things happened this season that kind of fell into place to enable them to win the NFC North. But the bad thing is, guess what? In Green Bay, they're stewing. In Detroit, they're mad. And Minnesota, they can't wait for next year. So we can't rest where we are, rest on our laurels. We've got to make sure we make preparations and provisions to be better in all phases next year. And who knows, maybe they can go and win a Super Bowl, which would be the first time in a long time here in Chicago.
Yeah, Ben Johnson said nothing that happens this season carries over to next season. But I think when you look at the head coach, like a lot of the players in the locker room, even Kevin Byard said they definitely got that right. And we had Peggy Kaczynski on the show recently, and she said she sees a lot of similarities between Ditka and Ben Johnson and their personalities, kind of how they're not afraid to push the limits a little bit more. She's like, they can dazzle you at the podium. They can give it right back to you. They kind of have this edge to them as well. Do you see that at all?
Well, we never saw Dick with his shirt off, but I will tell you, they both are alpha males. They both expect excellence and accountability. That's what you have to be. We haven't had it forever. We've had a bunch of guys trying to be friends with the players. To hell with that. You've got to hold their feet to the fire and say, this is what you have to do if you want to play for me. And those are the parts of the equation that Ben Johnson understands and he brings. The one thing is, again, Ditka had been to a number of Super Bowls with Dallas, so he had a certain belief in, his plan. Ben Johnson, to my knowledge, I don't think he's been a part of a team that's gone to a Super Bowl, but you can tell the reason he came here to Chicago wasn't for the money or a better job. He wants to be a part of a Super Bowl. And I think it's going to happen for him pretty quick.
You mentioned getting better on defense. You're the resident defensive lineman, Hall of Famer. People are like, do you go edge rusher? Do you go defensive tackle? Do you have one way? Are you thinking one way or the other that's more important to this Dennis Allen defense and what they need to bolster on that line?
Every team in the world wants a great inside power rusher. Everybody does. There's a lot of edge rushers, very few inside guys. If you can find one, get one. And, at some point, you can't have just one. The guy on my right's in the Hall of Fame, Richard Dent. The guy on my left is in the Hall of Fame, Steve McMichael. The more, the merrier. So, they have to start making plans to improve that position more than any other. The linebackers could be upgraded. The secondary is going to have some issues. All that being said, it all starts up front. They have to realize that and get better in a hurry.
You know the narratives around quarterback play in Chicago. So when you see Caleb Williams making those fourth quarter comebacks, making the throw to DJ Moore against the Packers, the throw to Cole Kmet to send that game to overtime, do you feel like the Bears can finally rest easy knowing that they have a guy who can be a franchise quarterback?
Cassie, here's the thing. A quarterback, his main job is, we're down and we in the fourth quarter, and I got to find a way to score for us to win. We know that is something that this kid can do in his sleep. He's amazing at that. The other part of it is you want him to play each and every week. He does that. For the first time in my lifetime, we have a quarterback to be reckoned with. Now, can he throw the easy passes a little better and make the simple plays simple? All those things, he'll get better and better and better. His footwork, all of his, his in and out of the huddle, all those things. It was a brand new learning experience. But if you take where he is today and all the things he was able to accomplish with this offense and Ben Johnson, if you project him 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I think it's scary.
Yeah, he has that special and magic that people say you just can't coach. The other things are going to come. He learned the new footwork. He was in a new offense in his first year under Ben Johnson, and that is obviously going to improve time after time. And I feel like there's so many moments where you can point to being like, that was his breakout moment. That was his throw of the season. Do you have one that stands out?
I think it's the pass to Cole Kmet that everybody remembers. Yeah, the Green Bay Packer a playoff game win and coming back and the season, seasonal game against the Packers. There's so many, they kind of cloud your mind. But that last one, running backwards and throwing it essentially a 50-yard pass for a touchdown, creates a certain belief, I don't want to say superhuman, but how many times have you ever seen that in your life? I've never seen it. So all the guys in that locker room, when they put their helmet on and go out of the locker room, in the back of their mind, they know If we need it, he's got it. I've seen it. And that's unbelievable, as far as the confidence that you have as a football team and as a player.
Yeah, I'll never forget the cutaway of Sean McVay after that play. His jaw literally dropped, and I don't think he could believe that there was a quarterback that he wasn't coaching that was making throws that he, of course, knows he could probably get that quarterback to make that throw, too. You talk about locker room, and that is one of the resounding things that we heard after the season ended, and I think Cole Kmet really started it, that it was just such a special group of guys, and they would never be together ever again. From your experience being on the 85 Bears that had so many characters in that locker room, how important is that to get to the end game?
Kind of bizarre in a way. After the 84 finale out in San Francisco, we lose. And then we're on the 4-hour flight back. I went to every player and got in their face and said, look me in the eye, make your mind up. Next year, we will go to the Super Bowl. And you know what? By the time we got off the plane, we hardly ever seen each other again because, everybody went their own way. Todd Bell and Al Harris didn't show up that season. They missed out. But you know what? At the end of the day, the rest of the team said, we will not be deterred. We are on a mission, and that's the only focus that we have. And at the end of the day, this is what this team needs to do. Because guess what? Like I said, Detroit and Green Bay, they're making plans right now to topple the Bears. And we have to not only be prepared, but we have to be better than what we were this year. We snuck up on a lot of people. We got lucky in a lot of very close games. Next year, you can't count on that luck. The bottom line is, can we get better? Will we get better? Only the players can control that.
All right, you keep mentioning Green Bay. They're definitely going to want revenge over the Bears. Did you feel any type of way about Ben Johnson's message in the locker room that they made public?
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. Green Bay, they were embarrassed by the Bears this year, and it's been a long time since I can say that. The other thing is, Detroit beat the Bears twice, but they were last in the division. They don't like, their plight. And we know that Minnesota has had a whole bunch of hell to pay. They fired their general manager. Everybody in the NFC North is in disarray because of what Ben Johnson was able to do this season. They won't forget, and they're going to carry an agenda next year and when they come in and play the Bears.
All right, well, that does it for us. For Cassie Carlson, I'm Tina Nguyen. Thanks for joining us here on CST Daily. Tomorrow, we've got a special spring training show for you, so be sure to tune in for that. All right, we'll see you later, and I'm going to go and get some more vitamin D before we head back home to Chicago. See you then.